Alright guys, so today we're going to be talking about constant rate of change. So constant meaning it continuously happens. It's at the same rate. An example would be if your mom's constantly yelling at you, well, it keeps happening, right? It's the same thing over and over. So it has these three vocabulary words are all the same: unit rate, constant rate of proportionality, and constant rate. They're all the same thing. They all have different names, but they represent proportional relationships. Okay, proportional relationship means it's constant and it's going to go through the origin. It's going to go through 0, 0. Okay, so my steps, I've added steps. The first step is to find the constant rate. It could also say find the unit rate, find the constant of proportionality. It's all the same. You're going to use the formula K is equal to Y over X. So same thing we've been doing. Okay, constant rate, the letter is K. When we write our formula after we found K, the formula is going to be Y equals to KX. This is if it's a proportional equation. Okay, then we're going to make a table. So I'm going to put an arrow here so you can see my full table. We start with X and Y. Our X is going to start at 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, sometimes they might change it, but I'll go into detail later about that. But our Y, so this is the part, in order to find our Y, we're going to use this formula here. Okay, after we found our K, our constant rate, we would just multiply it by X, and our X values are right here. Again, I'll go into detail when we start doing examples. Okay, so after we get our points, let's say this is 2, 4, 6, 8. After we get our points, then we just plot it on the graph. Okay, start at 0, and we just put dots on the graph. Alright, so let's get into these examples. So example 1 says Adrian can type 45 words per minute. Let's underline that. It says create a graph from the table. So they've already done my table for me. I just have to plot on the graph. But first things first. The first thing we have to do is find our constant of proportionality. This is our K. Okay. In order to find K, we use K is equal to Y over X. Remember, you got to plug in one of these points. I'm going to choose the first point here. I'm going to choose X is 1 and Y is 45. If I want to be technical, I'm going to write it's words over minutes. And I'm going to use 45 over 1. 45 divided by 1, it's going to give me 45. Okay. What I just found was my K. Now I have to plug it in my equation. So remember, my equation is going to be Y is equal to KX. I just found my K. So I'm going to plug that 45 where I see a K. So my equation is going to be Y is equal to 45X. Okay. And I could check myself. I can check myself by plugging in my X values. So it says I'm going to get Y by multiplying 45 times X. So I'm going to plug in 2. I'll do it on the side here. This is where I can make my own table. Because what if they didn't give me the right numbers here? So I'm going to put X and Y. I'm going to start with 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's plug this in. So it's telling me Y is going to be 45 times, every time I see an X, I'm going to plug in the 1, because that's my X. So 45 times 1 is 45. I'm going to do my equation again. I'm using this equation, 45, I'm plugging in my X value. My X is 2 here. So 45 times 2 is going to give me 90. I could check myself. It says 2 and 90. Did I get the same thing? 2 and 90? Yes. We'll do one more. The next one says 45 and my x value is 3. So 45 times 3, do the math right here. I'm just gonna add another 45 here and I get 135. So I'm gonna check my table. Does it say 3 and 135? Yes, it does. Okay, now that I've checked the table, I can go ahead and plot my points on the graph. If you remember last week, the first thing I want you to do when you see a graph is label your x and y axis. Okay, do I have any missing increments? Yes, I do. So I'm gonna start just in a different color. I'm going to count how many jumps I have. I have 1, 2. So that means I'm going to divide 60 divided by 2, and that gives me 30. So it's going in increments of 30. So I've got 0, 30, 60. Next number is 90, 120, 150, 180, and then add another 30 and you get 210. Okay. And the last thing to do with my graph is to plot my points. So I'm going to start with 1 and 45. I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to start with 0. I'm going to start with my x-axis first. I'm going to go over to 1 and up to 45. Now I don't see the number 45, but I know it's between 30 and 65. Okay, I did my first point. I'm just going to check it off. The second point, it goes from, I'm going to start at the origin. We're going over to 2 on my x-axis, because it's the x, and then we're going to go up to 90. Okay, I just did the second point. Let's do the third one. Starting at 0, we go over to 3, and we go up to 135. So it's going to kind of be in the middle here. I'm going to check it off, and then 4. We got 4 and 180. So I'm going to start at 0, go over to 4, and up to 180. I'm going to connect those lines. Okay, and that's it. What we just did was the 4 representations. We found our table, we did our graph, we got our equation, and we turned it from a word problem. Turn your paper over on the back. Okay, this one, I'm going to start it for you and you're going to finish it. So I won't go into too much detail. It says chicken costs $3 per pound. Underline that important information. It says write an equation that best represents y, the total cost, and x, the number of chicken. Okay, this unit rate was not supposed to be there, so you can cross it off, put an x or anything like that, whatever you want to do. Can you? Here. Okay, so we first have to find our constant in proportionality. Our constant is k. So k is equal to y over x. Okay, we got to find our, this one is missing our points, right? We're missing our y, so we can't just pull a point from here. But we do know that x per pound meaning it's for 1. So for 1 pound. So that means it's going to be it's going to be 3 over 1. Okay, I'm going to come over here and put 3 over 1. 3 divided by 1 is going to give me 3. So I just gave you your k. So you can plug this in the formula. Okay, y is equal to kx. It should be y is equal. I'm replacing that k with the number 3x. So we just figured out our formula. So now I'm going to use this formula to finish my table. Okay, so my formula is y is equal to 3x. I'm going to plug in my x values. I'm going to start here with 3. I'm going to plug in that 0. And that's going to give me my y value. Okay, so 3 times 0 is 0. I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to rewrite my equation here, and this time my x is 1. So I'm just plugging it in. That's all I'm doing. Just plug it in where I see an x. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, the next thing, I got 3, and I'm plugging in my x value, which is 3 again. So 3 times 3 is 9. I'm going to still keep using my equation right here. It says 3x. So I got 3, and then it says my x is 6 now. So 3 times 6 is 18. And the last one I'm plugging in is 8. 3 times 8 is 24. So if you notice the pattern, because there's a pattern here. The pattern is we're just multiplying our x values by what? By the number 3. That's all I did. And I got 1 times 3 is 3, 3 times 3 is 9. That's all I did. Okay, I want you to finish this. At the end, I want you to plot your points. The first point is going to be 0 and 0. The next point is 1 and 3, 3 and 9, 6 and 18, and the last one is 8 and 24. So you're going to plug in those points here. Don't forget to fill in your missing increments. Okay, let's move on to example 3. If I went too fast, just pause the video so you can write all that down. Example 3. It says Chris can run 18 miles in 2 hours. Create a table and a graph. Okay. Again, I'm going to underline important information. It says 18 miles in 2 hours. It wants me to find my unit rate first. Okay, remember, again, unit rate is the same as constant and proportionality is the same as constant rate. You're going to use the formula K is equal to Y over X. Now, I don't have my points, but they gave me 18 miles in 2 hours. Okay, so what I'm going to do, and they even told me what my Y and my X was. So I can even fill this in right here. It says for 2 hours, he did how many miles? He did 18. So I'm going to use this point here to plug in. So Y is 18, I'm putting it on top, and X is 2. 18 divided by 2 is 9. So be careful with these two problems. It didn't start with 1, it started with 2. Here we could have used our K is just 3, but here we cannot because we have to find the value of 1, right? So we're going to do the same thing we did as before. We're going to use this K, we're going to plug it in. Y is equal to KX. I'm going to plug in my K value, which is Y is equal to 9X. So this time, this tells me that I'm just going to multiply my X values by the number 9. Okay? So I'm going to multiply 3 times 9, which is 27. 6 times 9, which is 54. And 7 times 9, which is 63. Right? Yeah. Okay. So now again, you can do this part. You can plug in plot your points. Your first point is going to be 2 and 18, then 3 and 9. Write it on the side here for you. 2, 18, 3 and 27, 6 and 54, and 7 and 63. So these are bigger numbers. So don't forget to fill in your missing increments as well. Okay, I'm going to check these two graphs at the end of the notes. Okay, let's move on to number 4. So number 4, let's go ahead and cross off the check-in. Okay. Number 4, it says Hayden went to the store and purchased a few bags of chips. He paid $3 for 2 bags of chips he purchased. Create a table and a graph that represents the relationship X, the number of bags, and Y, the total cost. Okay, so here it's giving us information. It's telling us that for $3 he paid for 2 bags of chips. So if I look over here at my number of chips, if he got 2 bags, then he paid how much? It says right here, $3. Okay, we can use this information to find our constant of proportionality. Use the formula x is equal to y, sorry, k is equal to y over x. You're going to plug in these numbers right here to get your k. Then you're going to use this k to get and plug it in to get your equation. Okay, I want you to, this is the question I want you to finish besides the points. Okay, I want you to find your k first and then your equation. And then you're going to fill in the table. Don't worry about the graph here. I just want you to do these three things. Okay, when you're finished, come check with me. And then you can finish the, start the practice.